Hi, welcome to my interview. My name is Hannah Omis, and this is for the class Health and Wellness Capstone. So the first question is asking me, how do I make decisions? And the answer to that is there is a couple different ways. The first way is when it's like a positive decision, and that's when I look at what most closely aligns with what I want, with what I'm aiming for, and I'll go with that. So like a positive decision would be when I'm choosing electives, or maybe I'm buying something. I do a lot of comparison and imagining, like of what it would be like to pick a certain way, and that plays a large role in how I make positive decisions. So when I'm making negative decisions, like for example 5 years ago I had to make the decision of whether to let my car be totaled or to choose to use the insurance money to repair it. That was both of those I saw as pretty negative consequences. So I just weighed the consequences to see which one had the more negatives and went with that. So sometimes when I make a decision, I'll choose the one with the most negative consequences, but it will also have the most positive consequences. So for example, in the car decision, it was my first car and I was really attached to it, but it was an older car, and I figured if I took the insurance money I could get a newer car that would have fewer problems, and I wouldn't be having to make as many repairs, and I would save money in the long run. So that's how I made that decision. And I like to know as much as possible what's going to happen before I make a decision, and so I do tend to be pretty careful and think them out. So my second question is, what is your philosophy on health and wellness? My philosophy is that the concepts involved in health and wellness are the foundation to living a full and healthy life. So it doesn't matter what a person's religion is, their culture, their lifestyle, their socioeconomic status. A person can still be affected by acquired disease, such as diabetes, or coronary heart disease, or hypertension, stroke, or even just stress. So a person can also benefit from things like a healthful diet, stress relief methods, and exercising. So I believe that the concepts of health and wellness can be modified to fit any person's life, as long as they are willing to make the effort of improving their own health. Fourth question is, how prepared are you to be around sick or unhealthy people on a regular basis? My belief is, while it's true that sick or unhealthy people are normal in this field, I think the best way to handle this is to resist the urge to mentally categorize people. So I would want to be able to treat each person individually and accept them for who they are. So in my mind, they won't be a sick person, but they'll be Janet or whoever who also happens to have a sickness. So a person may be sick or they may be unhealthy, but I prefer to see it as an attribute that they have and not a defining characteristic. And I believe this mindset will prevent me from getting any kind of mental fatigue associated with this kind of work. A fourth question, is there any training or help that I may need to supplement my effectiveness in this position? So in my career, I would like to focus on corporate wellness and how I can help employees gain both physical and mental benefits, but also help them reduce healthcare costs. I'm hoping this internship will initiate a valuable opportunity to increase my experience in the corporate wellness area, but also introduce me to people who will assist me further in my education in this area. Alright, so the fifth question, what is the most important characteristic of a company that I would want to work for? I want to work for a company that is pursuing something that means something. It's something meaningful. It's making a positive difference in the world. A corollary of this is that a company would also encourage a growth mindset. It would treat employees as valuable individuals that can be invested in. So the employees are not cogs in a wheel or people to be exploited, but they're valuable and important, and they contribute and they are given the opportunity to improve themselves and improve their situation around them. The next question is, what would I consider my weakness? So probably my biggest weakness is that I avoid conflict. I see there's a positive corollary to this, is that I really value peace and harmony. I don't like any kind of competition that has serious matters at stake. So lighthearted competition, like a weight loss competition at work or something like that, I don't mind those. But if it's serious, like in cutthroat environments where people will just sabotage each other, I don't thrive in that kind of atmosphere. And like if people speak their opinions without filtering, or if they're openly competitive, I try to stay in the background and stay off their radar so that I don't get attacked. Sometimes this means I'll put off having uncomfortable conversations, or I'll beat around the bush to someone when I have to say something unpleasant. I'm working on it personally. I'm using positive self-talk. So for example, I'll tell myself that people are allowed to be angry at me. Not everyone is required to like me, and that's okay. Alright, so for the last question, it's what's the most complex problem I've ever encountered and how did I solve it? So when I was working at a deaf school in Africa, I had the opportunity to work in a culture that was very different from my own. So deaf people are marginalized in Uganda, and women are also marginalized. Like, for example, women are expected to kneel when they're offering something to a man. Like if a man asks for a drink of water, the woman is expected to offer the water while kneeling, like usually on a plate. So people who are deaf, like deaf women, are very likely to be mistreated. And at the school I was working at, there were several older girls who came to the school late, and they are not going to have the opportunity to go to university probably. They're just too far behind. So it's a reality for them that the best life possible is probably going to be in a village and getting married so that they have someone to help take care of them. So I have the urge to teach them behaviors from my own culture, like to protect them so that they wouldn't necessarily feel like they had to put up with bad behavior from a man. But I was also aware that quite likely their best chance is to get married and have someone to support them. So I was confronted with the dilemma of teaching them to reject certain behaviors that could very likely cause them to be rejected in their village. Or I could accept that misogyny is part of their culture and that I can't do anything to change it. I decided to solve this, to go on a middle road, and to change my own behavior, or not to change it, but just to make sure that I was always treating them with love and respect. So that way they know when they are being treated badly, and they themselves can choose what they're going to do about it. And so it gives the choice back to them. And that's how I decided to solve it. So this is the end of my interview. Thank you for watching.